World leaders are sharing mixed reactions to President Trump's attack on globalism during his United Nations address. The president highlighted his America First policies during yesterday's speech, saying, "The future belongs to patriots." New Zealand's Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, is among the leaders in New York for the UN General Assembly. Her country, as you know, got global attention for implementing strict gun control measures after the mosque shootings in Christchurch back in March. Earlier this morning, we spoke to her in an exclusive interview about her closed-door meeting with President Trump this week and what he thinks of New Zealand's gun laws. Word is that our president did express interest in the measures that you implemented. What can you share with us about that meeting?
Oh, there have been those who have been interested in what happened in New Zealand. Obviously, after the 15th of March, where 51 lives were lost from our Muslim community, the sentiment was really clear. We are a country who has legitimate use for guns. Our farming community, particularly for pest control and animal welfare issues. But there was a real line in the sand moment for us as a nation, and a question was asked, you know, why does anyone need military-style semi-automatic weapons or assault rifles? And so that's where we drew the line. Within 10 days, we announced that those laws would change. Within a month, roughly, it was done. And now we're in the middle of buying back all of those weapons, and we've had 20,000 of them returned and over 70,000 parts.
Did you get the impression he wants to do that here?
I got the impression he was interested. Okay, I would be second-guessing anything beyond that.
When ideas like buybacks and gun bans come up in this country, one of the criticisms, and I know you've heard it in your country as well, is, look, law-abiding people are going to give you the guns back, but the criminals and the potential terrorists, the people you don't want to have these weapons, it's not like they're going to listen to the ban.
Well, I mean, one of the points that we've tried to make, of course, is that there's only a very small proportion of people who are licensed ever commit crime, a small portion. But if their guns are not stored properly, cared for properly, they are the ones that can still enter into the black market. So there is a connection there.
Are you punishing law-abiding citizens while letting the criminals continue with their criminal activity?
No. I mean, certainly the perspective we've had from those who have been part of the buyback is they see this as the right thing to do. And in Australia, you know, they did see results off the back of their buyback scheme. And so I look to them and see that that was a positive experience for them. And for us, actually, there is just no rational reason to have these in circulation. We didn't even know how many we had. But the fact we've had 20,000 return for a small country of less than 5 million people, that's a big result for us.
Sometimes our president has been criticized for what is seen as divisive rhetoric in this country. How do you think it's viewed on the international stage?
Increasingly, I think, and I'd make this statement about any of us. You know, even if you're from a smaller country like New Zealand, you can be shot onto a platform depending on what's happening in your corner of the world. The point I've tried to make is that increasingly we're actually all amplified within each other's borders. So nothing that we say within our own countries anymore is just limited to that. We all hear each other now, and our peoples feel the effect of that. And I don't say that to point to any one leader. Actually, that's a duty of care that we all have. And in this borderless world now, I think we need to be mindful that other countries hear it, kids hear it, and our words, they have impact.
Only 23 of the 193 UN member states have female leadership.
Yes.
Why do you think the number is so low? And what do you think? Are there consequences when you don't have more female leaders?
Well, I'm
hello, female leader.
Yes, hello.
Yes, hello, female leader.
I'm not particularly inclined to try and create this rare species or this clique. You know, and I think there's lots of reasons. You know, I reflect back in my own region. We're doing what we can to lift the pipeline. I mean, ultimately, if you're going to have female leaders, you need female members of parliament and female politicians. It's not a particularly enticing place to be. And so my starting point is, how can we make politics feel like a place where you can make a positive contribution? And so that's part of my philosophy, is to tell the stories of why and how we can do good.
But to Gayle's question before, what do you think the consequences for the entire world are when we have so few women leaders?
Well, I firstly wouldn't want to make an assumption that just because you're a female that you'll produce particular political outcomes or policies. Everyone comes from their own perspectives. But, you know, there will, and I don't mean to draw too many assumptions, but there will be times when we might choose to do things differently. And you'll always, everyone brings their personal experience to the table. And so particularly, you know, I think if you come as a mother, as a carer, then it will influence the way you look at the world and issues. One
of the most talked about, probably the most talked about moment at the UN this week has been the speech by Greta Thunberg, a 16-year-old, challenging the leaders of the world.
As she well should. Do
you think she made an impact?
Yes, I do.
Do you think the world leaders heard her?
Well, I certainly did. And I'd like to think that we had heard her some time ago, but it was whether or not everyone that need to hear at any given time were all in the room. We need to hear that generation, and they don't want speeches. They do want to know that we're taking it seriously.
Yes, we are. To see more of our interview with Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, visit our website at cbsthismorning.com.